Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports coming to you worldwide on the iHeartRadio network. Today is a short, abbreviated show because we have two Monday night football games on beautiful September the 12th, 2016. And we know we just finished this tough holiday that we went through called 9/11. And we also have the opening of NFL football. So a lot of people had a lot of emotions going through. But we also want to tell you that we appreciate you listening in every Monday through Friday at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on Charlton and Big C Sports on the iHeartRadio network. So thank you also in Latin America. So thank you so much for tuning in to Charlton and Big C Sports. Also in Russia, got some people from Russia. I even pulled up Poland, Big C. So thank you guys, you good old boys in Poland. And of course, you good old boys up in Canada and a great United States of America. Love this country, land of the free, home of the brave. But Big C, how's it going for you good old boys down south?
Well, it is going great down here, Charlton. College football, Alabama, doing what they do. Here's a couple of cupcakes.
Oh, yeah, here you go. Yeah.
Overall, college football had everybody excited this weekend.
Yeah.
There's so many games out there, and there was so much controversy in the sport and everything, especially down in Stillwater, Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Where the officials gave away a game down there when the game was over.
Yeah.
Play they run. So, that human error factor and things like that, Charlton. But, it's that great time of the year. It's still hot outside.
Oh, yeah.
Football is kicked off, so everything in America seems to be getting better.
Well, life is always better when you add football to it. I heard some people talking about that, Big C, and they couldn't be closer to right, but we do have an abbreviated show today because the NFL wants to play two football games on Monday night while most people are at work, Big C, so we'll get right to it. I want to ask you before we get into any scores, just your thoughts on opening week of NFL football, Big C.
Very exciting, Charlton. A lot of close games, and more than what people expected. The spread was not covered by a lot of teams, as Las Vegas expected. But when you sit there as a fan, you couldn't help but appreciate, getting 60 minutes of football, Charlton. Instead of a 27-minute game, you got a 60-minute game of football all across the league. Teams that were not expected to hung in there. There were several upsets, Charlton.
Yeah.
When you look at the slate across the table, but it's not really upsets in the NFL, Charlton, because everybody's paid. Everybody's professional.
Yeah.
Okay? So, you can't really call them true upsets, but some teams did not get the win that they expected.
Well, I definitely tell you that's very much true, Big C. I want to first of all start off with one of the games that I thought was a great game. Also want to congratulate Jack Del Rio for actually having the stones that Al Davis would have, and he went for two actually, Big C. Went for two against New Orleans down in the Dirty South, and they actually pulled out that win. I'm impressed with the way they control the ball offensively. Defensively, I wasn't really impressed with it. I know the Raiders gambled and got that 2-point conversion twice. Derek Carr showing that he's ready to lead the Raiders back to the playoffs. Big C, your thoughts on that?
Well, very interesting game, Charlton. It was a track meet. We talked about it, before the game that Drew Brees was thrown for well over 400 yards. When you see the clips there, that's something that he does. But, when you look at the fortuity of the Raiders coming back in that game, Derek Carr leading his team back after, New Orleans had scored, taking them down the field, and getting the 2-point conversion, Charles. When Michael Crabtree caught that ball,
that was big.
Reminded me when he was at Texas Tech.
Yeah.
And they played against the University of Texas. Colt McCoy was quarterback. They were ranked number 1 in the country.
Yeah.
And he grabbed the pass on the sideline, about the 5-yard line from Graham Harrell, and took it into the end zone and upset Texas, knocked them out of the number 1 slot. He has such strong and massive hands, Charlton, and that's what it takes at the receiver position. Not always the speed, but it's what you can do with those hands.
Well, speaking of doing with those hands, this segment is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Escalade and the standard of the world. And when you test drive it, go down and tell them that Charlton and Big C sent you. And remember, Big C's is the one with the mud and the mud flaps, and sometimes in the passenger seat too, Big C. That's where he puts the hogs after he goes out and gets some, Big C. And also another great game, Big C. I'm telling you, I thought my favorite quarterback play yesterday was Jameis Winston out of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They actually beat Matt Ryan and the Falcons 31-24. Your thoughts on that game, Big C?
Well, we talked about that previous offense. Jameis Winston came into training camp this year 20 pounds lighter.
Yeah.
Much better at polished passes.
He looked good.
He proved that against the Falcons in the Dome down in Atlanta, where he just took control of the game. They dominated the game from start to finish. Yes, Falcons scored late to make it respectable.
Yeah.
But, when you rely just on the passing game and you forsake your running game, they got Dante Freeman down in Atlanta, good running back. But, you're trying to go to Sanu and Jones
Yeah.
all game long.
Right.
And both of those players got dinged up. So it really cost Atlanta that they did not establish the ground game. But they lost credit to Tampa Bay. Dirk Cousins, the new head coach down there.
Yeah.
Jameis Winston has become a very polished NFL player in his second year and an excellent receiver core to help him out, Charlton.
Well, that's very true, Big C. Another game that might be a shock, but when you go up against Belichick, it's not really a shock. Patriots 23, Cardinals 21. Garoppolo threw for 264 yards, but he's not going to replace Tom Brady. I don't even want to hear the non-6 Big C. Your thoughts on the Patriots over the Cardinals down in the desert?
Well, you can't replace the best in the game, Charlton. Everybody says Aaron Rodgers is the best in the game. Give me Tom Brady.
Yeah, Tom Brady.
Given Sunday,
Yeah.
This guy makes things happen. Hawk didn't play last night. But you also got to go back, Charlton, to Arizona's last game last season against Carolina Panthers. They didn't look good then.
Yeah.
So, they may have a little bit of hangover from last season. A lot of expectations after the season they had last year. They got all the Charlton offensively. So that's the biggest part. New England, a lot of enthusiasm. Garoppolo out there playing like a young kid, like a
Oh, yeah.
and just flying all over the place, making passes. New England, is it the system in New England? When you look at the number of quarterbacks in that, if you go back to Castle,
Yeah, Matt Castle.
years ago when Tom Brady had the knee injury,
Yeah.
Matt Castle came in, took them to the playoffs.
Yeah.
So, there's some things about that system with Daniels and the offensive coordinator in New England. And so they get things done. You always got to like the Patriots.
Well, you gotta love the Patriots, Big C. Also, speaking of love, I love the California Lottery, and what a buck can do for you. This segment is sponsored by your California Lottery. Now, I'm telling you, I'm starting to get a little bit upset. I know this. They talked about having the faith the size of the grain of a mustard seed, but I didn't see any mustard seeds in Creflo Dollar's pocket when he got that $63 million airplane, Big C. So I'm asking God again for that $220 million Powerball, Big C. But even the Mega Millions up to $100+ million. So Charlton and Big C Sports. Okay, God, we've been asking again. You said ask and you shall receive. Are you ready to receive, Big C? Kind of like the receivers for the Giants and the Cowboys game, Big C. I understand, Big C. And speaking of arthritis, what's up with the Cowboys? They have the greatest offensive line in the NFL, but they don't know how to get out of bounds. They fall to the Giants 2019. Eli Manning had a decent game, 3 touchdown passes. Ezekiel Elliott, 20 carries, 51 yards, but they do better job at pass blocking, it seems, Big C. Your thoughts on Dallas losing that game at the Giants?
Well, Charlton, everybody's putting the focus on Dallas offense. People got to remember Dallas has no defense, Charlton.
Yeah.
They have no pass rush. So, when Eli Manning can sit back in the pocket, a very immobile quarterback.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he doesn't feel the pressure. You got to realize they lost their 2 top pass rushers they expected to have this year in Gregory and also Hardy.
Yeah.
Neither one of those guys are there in training camp. But, they also lost a couple other players to free agency. So when you don't have a pass rush, and the Giants
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
They had no pass rush, but that was the difference in the game. The Giants had the pass rush, the Cowboys did not. Both offenses played equal to each other.
Yeah.
But the difference was the pass rush that the Giants had and the Cowboys did not have. So that's going to make it a long season for the Cowboys, when you look at it.
Yeah.
You're good on one side of the ball and you're not so good on the other side of the ball. Last year, they played some defense.
Yeah.
It wasn't great, but they played some defense. They just had no offense. They were losing games by 3 to 7 points.
Yeah.
Now they got a little bit of offense. Now they have no defense. Jerry Jones has to figure out, if he's going to be the owner and the GM, how to put together a football team. Jimmy Johnson's not coming back anytime soon.
Well, that's very true. And speaking of coming back, the Seattle Seahawks, they came back to beat the Dolphins, the Miami Dolphins, 12-10. Not very spectacular on offense, but Russell Wilson has a hobbled ankle, and he did play the biggest ball when he had to. He hit Doug Baldwin 31 seconds left and brought Seattle and the Legion of Boom over the Dolphins, but not a very impressive performance by Seattle, Big C.
They played well during the preseason. Miami played much better than people expected. But Ryan Tannehill, Charlton, is an Achilles heel for Miami's offense.
Yeah.
This is a quarterback that you had such high expectations to sign into a $100 million contract extension, and he still is not getting the job done. Yes, he's very mobile, he's athletic, but, in the pocket, he's just inconsistent.
Yeah.
And, when you look at these teams who've had these quarterbacks Charlton for 4 or 5 years, at what point do you start looking to say, hey, this is not going to get any better. Maybe we need to look at this. You look at that Lion down in Atlanta.
Yeah.
This kid's been around for several years.
Yeah.
Franchise.
Yeah.
If he's the 5 and 6 games.
Well, Big C, remember that Georgia's in the moonshine state, so maybe they're giving moonshine before the kickoff instead of Gatorade, Big C. So maybe they got to check what's in the bucket, Big C, and also checking in the bucket. Okay, you like Alex Smith in Kansas City. They had the biggest comeback in the history of the organization, 33-27 over the Chargers in overtime. Really impressed with Alex Smith, Big C. Your thoughts on the Chiefs?
Like I said, Charlton, Alex Smith is getting better. He's not that big name, big arm guy that, all the talking heads want to talk about.
Yeah.
But he's been consistently better, Charlton. You got to remember when he got hurt in San Francisco, he had done nothing wrong to lose his job. It's just when Kaepernick came in, he just took it to the next level.
Yeah.
Alex Smith, ever since going to Kansas City, you look at them, they've gotten better each year. And now it's under the tutelage of Andy Smith.
Yeah,
Andy Reid.
Andy Reid.
You look at what Andy Reid has done with quarterbacks. You go back to Donovan McNabb in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Long success they had there for a decade. He's going to have that same success with Alex Smith for the next 4 or 5 years. The Chiefs will be challenging and be in the playoffs this year, Charles.
Well, they definitely will. And speaking of the playoffs, this segment is sponsored by United Labor, guaranteed life insurance up to $100,000, no medical questions. And also, we are endorsed by the American Cancer Society and the American Heart Association. You can also understand, you can look for work. You've been looking at Craigslist. Tweet out the Charlton and Big C Sports on iHeartRadio Network. Looking to hire over 1,000 licensed insurance brokers to go to work and put Americans back to work, Big C. That's Charlton and Big C Sports and United Labor Insurance. And also, Big C, I'm telling you, with the Texans and the Bears, I don't understand why you keep giving so much prop to the Bears, at least the ownership. But Brock Osweiler threw for 231 yards. Not that great, but still had enough to overcome the Bears, Big C. They beat them by the score of 23-14. Your thoughts on that game?
We've continuously talked about the inconsistency of Jay Cutler. He has an excellent receiving core when you look at it on paper.
Yeah.
His mechanics throwing the ball, he threw one time to two wide open.
Yeah.
And yesterday I was wondering whether he was colorblind.
He might need my contact lenses, Big C.
He's been diagnosed, and I'm not making light of the situation with millions of Americans have bipolar.
Exactly.
But, his actions on the field, he's been cleared medically, medication or whatever.
Yeah.
He is not a consistent NFL quarterback. Chicago would be much better trying someone else. They had him down a couple of years ago, and he took them to the playoffs and replaced McCutler.
Yeah.
They haven't won anything since, Charles.
Well, Big C, that's a great call on that one. My most exciting game of the day, Big C, the Raiders. I'm telling you, Al Davis must have been in the building, 35-34 over the Saints. And I'm going to tell you, Derek Carr, great quarterback. Crabtree had a couple of drops, but actually when they needed him in the clutch, went and got it done. Drew Brees, we talked about him going over 424 yards. So it's a great game for the Raiders. But let me ask you this question. I know it looks good when you win. Would you have gone for 2 or tied the game like Jack Del Rio, Big C?
Well, the Raiders had nothing to lose, Charlton, when you think about that, going for 2. You guys are going to start the season, because you go to overtime, there's no guarantee you're going to score in overtime.
Yeah.
You got Janikowski, but there's still no guarantee.
Yeah.
Why not try to win it? Because that becomes a momentum builder for the season, Johnson. You set the building block. As a coach, you believe in your players, and what you get in return, players believing in a coach. And so that established a lot for us, the Raiders' mentality. It goes back to old school Raiders of the 70s.
That's
just
true.
Win, baby, and that's what that was. Just win the game.
Well, just win, baby. Speaking of just win, the Bengals 23, the Jets 22. Mike Nugent kicked a 47-yard field goal with 54 seconds left. Your thoughts on the Bengals edging out the Jets, Big C?
Well, that was a back-and-forth game, Charlton, all day. Both quarterbacks, Patrick and Dalton, played well. And you look at both of those coaches, 2 African-American coaches facing each other.
Yeah.
It was a chess match. And, we've seen games all weekend long coming down to a kick, whether that kick was successful or not. You hate to leave a game on a kicker's shoulder.
Yeah.
But Nugent came through, kicked the 47-yarder. The Bengals are 1-0 on the season, Charlton.
Speaking of being 1-0 on the season, the Green Bay Packers 27-23 over the Jaguars. Jaguars were much more improved this year, but Aaron Rodgers not the best game, even though he threw 2 touchdown passes and ran for another. He only had 299 yards passing. 199 yards passing by Rodgers is not that strong of an effort, Big C.
No, it's not. Mediocre pedestrian performance by Aaron Rodgers. We talked about the Jacksonville Jaguars. Everybody's talking about this as a team on the cusp, on the verge of becoming good.
Right.
But they haven't, Charlton. You can have all these high draft picks, but if they're not producing in the W column, it's meaningless. They could all be low-round draft picks. So until they can put together a string of victories, Charlton, and win more than 5 games in the season, they are just a lackluster team in the NFL. Yes, they can play you close.
Yeah.
Green Bay lost
Yep, that's very true.
Jacksonville has to win some games. Playing close means nothing in the NFL. Okay,
that's
like going out on a date with your sister.
Wait. This is not the South, Big C. This is no dating sisters unless you're south of that Mason-Dixon line. Okay, Big C, speaking of dating sisters, we're going to go up to the north. The Minnesota Vikings, the Tennessee Titans. It was 25-16, the Vikings over the Titans. Eric Kendricks returned an interception, 77 yards for a touchdown, and they actually got the win over the Titans. Your thoughts on that game, Big C?
And that's the key. Adrian Peterson was shut down by the Titans defense. Played very strong against the run. We had expected that they would put players in the box because they weren't worried about Sean Hill going down the field. Mariota's kind of disappointed that he couldn't air it out more. He was expecting more. You look at Winston's performance against Atlanta. Mariota could not produce those same numbers against Minnesota, Charlton.
And speaking of numbers, Carson Wentz, the Eagles 29-10 over the Browns, and RG3 got hurt again. He has to learn to slide, Big C. Wentz came out and had a 278-yard passing day, 2 touchdowns, but it was against a bad Cleveland Browns team, so I think it looks deceiving. I'm wishing Wentz well, but I wasn't impressed even though he had a big game over a bad team in Cleveland. They're about a year or two away, it seems, for Cleveland. Your thoughts on that game, Big C?
Against a rookie quarterback who really has not played. But Carson Wentz, you got to give him all the praise.
Yeah, give him praise. Yeah.
Overall draft pick, he went out and did what he was expected to do. He made a couple turnovers, but he played consistently enough to get the victory. And that's all you ask for. He threw a lot of deep balls. And, in throwing deep balls, you hope that the receiver can catch up with him.
Yeah.
So, that's one of the things they relied on. But you can't rely on just the deep ball all season long, Charlton. Good win for Philadelphia on the road.
Good win, definitely, Big C. Now, the Ravens and the Bills, it was 13-7, the Ravens over the Bills. Joe Flacco went 23 of 34 for 258 yards, including a 66-yard touchdown pass to Mike Wallace. Your thoughts on that game? I thought Buffalo had it, Big C, but again, you got to credit the Ravens for pulling out a win there. Yeah.
Joe Flacco had not played in close to a year, Charlton, after the knee injury he suffered last year. Came in, looked good as a quarterback. He's going to get better, get his timing down. But the Ravens, they also lost one of their offensive tackles.
Yeah.
They're going to find a way to be better through the season. So this is one of those teams in that division that will find a way to win. Steve Smith, back healthy. As the season goes on, he'll get more and more in sync with Flacco, and they'll have a tremendous passing game.
Well, definitely true. Last NFL game, Big C, the Lions 39, the Colts 35. A great shootout of a game in the post-Calvin Johnson era. Matthew Stafford 31 of 39, 340 yards and 3 touchdowns. But what's going on with Andrew Luck with the biggest contract for quarterbacks, not able to get the win for the Colts, Big C?
Well, yeah, the $100 million quarterback beating another $100 million quarterback. We've talked about the Colts offensive line. There were several times that Luck was running from his right.
Yeah.
But I'm happy for Jim Conwell.
Yeah.
He was the former coach of the Colts the last time they went to the Super Bowl. He had coached under Tony Dungy there and took over once Tony Dungy retired, and he ended up, getting fired a couple of years later. He ends up down in Detroit, their franchise.
Yeah.
And now he seems to have the franchise straightened out. He got a couple of great young running backs. Abdul is one of them out of Nebraska. And the receiver core, Golden Tate played well for him.
Oh, yeah.
And Notre Dame wide receiver. And so he has some pieces that he's put together. The defense played well enough to control Andrew Luck. Yes, they scored a couple of touchdowns late in the game.
Yeah.
But they held them in check for the first half. They understood what was going on. Indianapolis is going to have to improve their offensive line.
A big deal. A big deal.
Detroit's not the best defense in the league, but he's going to face some opponents that are really going to come after him. But, Andrew Luck brought his team back. He thought great field goal at the end, and we've talked about missed field goals, made field goals.
Yeah.
Great field goal by the Lions at the end of that game.
Very much so, Big C. The last 2 games in the next 3 minutes here on this abbreviated Monday Night Football game, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Washington Redskins. Your thoughts on that game, Big C?
Well, this is a game. You look at Kirk Cousins, the quarterback for the Redskins. This kid last year made $650,000 and threw 30 touchdowns. He was the number 1 rated completion quarterback in the NFL with 69%.
Yeah.
But, now he's he's got $20 million. How will he play? Will he play like a $20 million?
Yeah.
We've seen that, Charlton, with quarterbacks getting money.
Yeah.
You got Big Ben on the other side. You know, he's been one of the elite quarterbacks in the NFL for the past decade.
Yeah.
Antonio Brown's very healthy. You know, he's got this contract extension and more money, and one of the top 2 receivers in the NFL. The Pittsburgh Steelers have a tremendous offensive line. They invested a lot of money in it.
Oh, yeah.
That's the difference between them and the Redskins is that offensive line. And you always know that Steel Town has been noted for their defense. They come and play hard every down, Joe.
And speaking of playing hard every down, the final game, Big C, the Los Angeles Rams at the San Francisco 49ers tonight. Your thought on that game in the Bay Area?
Well, Joe, the number one thought is it was Jeff Goff.
Yeah.
You know, what has he got to be thinking? You know, you got Carson Wentz playing yesterday. You got Prescott playing yesterday. You got and Garoppolo, who wasn't a rookie, but basically like a rookie. These guys came out and performed well.
Yeah.
He's not even dressing. What is going to be the psyche of Jeff Goff? Will he be able to mentally overcome this? I understand there's a game being played on the field, but you got the number 1 overall draft pick holding a clipboard and street clothes. But the game, you know, this is a game between Blaine Gabbert.
Yeah.
49ers have put their hopes on Blaine Gabbert, whether it's through the media or Tim Kelly.
I think it's a media decision for that one, Big C.
You know, you got Blaine Gabbert. Now, if Blaine Gabbert can't beat the Rams, who can he beat in the NFL? He's won 7 games in his 5-year career as a starter.
Well, the biggest question is, will Chip Kelly have his resume ready after tonight's game, Big C? Because if they don't win that game, you're going to tell me that you're making the right choice. I don't know. You just look at who's won the most games, and that kind of makes sense for you. In the last 2 minutes, Big C, this segment is sponsored by One Life America Life Insurance, the leaders in the country when it comes to final expense. Tweet out to Charlton and Big C Sports on the iHeart Radio Network. We'll just cover a little bit of college football before we head away for Monday Night Football. Alabama ranked number 1 again in the United States. Florida State's number 2, followed by Ohio State, Michigan at 4, Clemson at number 5, Houston, they are number 6, Stanford number 7, and Washington Huskies number 8 on the West Coast, and then Wisconsin and Louisville number 10, Big C. And the final thoughts tonight before we cut up to the Monday Night Football, Big C, just your thoughts on football.
Let me tell you who the best player in the country is in college football, Charlton. Your name is number 10 team in the country, Louisville.
Yeah.
They have a young quarterback, Lamar Johnson.
Oh, he's amazing.
This guy, amazing is not even the word, Joe. Everybody talks about how well Deshaun Watson played.
Yeah.
Deshaun Watson is a boy compared to Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
Right now. This kid, Jones, has played less than 5 quarters of college football this year.
Yes.
Less than 5 quarters. He has accounted for 16 touchdowns. Now, I watched a bit of the game he played against Syracuse the other night.
Yeah.
And at one point in the game, he was 7 for 9 and over 200 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
His receivers dropped 5 straight balls. He never stopped throwing it. I'm talking about perfect passes. He had one behind the coverage for 6, and he could let it get to his chest.
Yes.
But this guy has such resilience and speed. Watch him release the ball. He throws it like a shortstop. How he gets it out of his hands.
Yes.
Hurry, quick release. This guy is electrifying. Don't think that Louisville cannot run the table this year. I mean, they're going to play Houston this week.
Yeah.
That team right there, the winner of that game will set somebody up.
Yeah.
For the national championship run, John.
They definitely have the chance to do it for the national championship. And also, speaking of this abbreviated Monday Night Football, this segment was brought to you by KokoCapital.com. That's KOKO.com. And we help business owners get the capital. Also, Big C, every Monday through Friday at 5 o'clock p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Worldwide, you can follow Charlton and Big C Sports on the iHeart Radio Network, and we appreciate you always listening in, whether you're in Latin America, whether you're in Russia, or even Australia, Big C. We do appreciate everyone for listening to Charlton and Big C Sports. So we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.